A strong tornado outbreak is likely across much of the central U.S. tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. Who can see the most destructive winds, large hail, and potentially intense to even violent tornadoes? We'll find out in today's video. Good late evening, everyone. This is Atmospheric Alex here, back with yet another severe weather forecast outlook and discussion. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about a significant tornado outbreak that is likely tomorrow across a large chunk of the central U.S. And we're going to start off here with our Storm Prediction Center's convective outlook. We are talking about a level 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale, a marginal risk for the rest of tonight. We did see a slight risk earlier that include portions of, say, Martin, Tennessee. I got slammed to a pretty crazy severe thunderstorm earlier on this evening, and then got a pretty intense lightning barrage, say around like 8 o'clock, which is why this video did not come out any earlier, because if I did, my laptop would have potentially gotten fried because of how close some of those strikes were. So I was trying to play it safe there. As we move on through into tomorrow, this is our main risk day, talking about a level 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale for just a large part of the country. Like, look at this here. I do expect a 4 out of 5, a moderate risk to get issued, probably again in a large area. We're seeing some ridiculous model uptrends for tomorrow that need to be watched closely. And so we are talking about a pretty significant tornado risk here, a 10% chance of tornadoes within 25 miles of a given point, and a SIG 2 risk here. This essentially is a 2 out of 3 on the intensity scale, saying that intense tornadoes are possible, if not even likely, at this given point in time. Talking about a 45 hatched risk of wind here, potentially upwards of 70 to 80 miles an hour. Hail, very large hail, is also expected too. And we're going to get into, our models here, and you're going to see just how insane tomorrow could shape up to be. Quickly now, on day 3, we do have a slight risk of severe weather across Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia there, and even into Kentucky. Not expecting all too much from that day as of now. And now we're going to take a look at aguacero weather here at the HRRR model. You can see our healthy parameter space is quickly lifting off to the north as we go into tonight. But then into tomorrow morning, we're going to be talking about some thunderstorms here around Minneapolis, here in Minnesota. That could potentially be a limiting factor, or could actually help tomorrow's severe weather risk, believe it or not. We could be talking about this area of thunderstorms maybe creating more backed winds, more tornado potential, but that is a nowcasting situation. You can see our parameter space as it really begins to light up here as we move into tomorrow afternoon, and we begin to notice a lot of potentially supercells here. I mean, it looks like a cluster, but we are definitely talking about maybe some semi-discrete supercells that could form within this cluster here that are going to be capable of all hazards, including intense tornadoes. And you can see this only gets worse. I mean, some of these cells right within here, like this one, definitely could potentially have violent tornado potential. That is not a forecast, but it is a possibility that I've been noticing. And of course, all these other cells up here, intense tornadoes, look possible to even likely as we head into tomorrow afternoon. And multiple rounds of storms are going to be possible here. And this just becomes one ginormous mess. Take a look at this. We have, a big old line of storms here and another big line of storms here. I mean, the HRRR has been significantly uptrending on tomorrow's threat, and this continues throughout the evening. And again, we could be talking about a spam of potentially strong tornadoes along a quasi-linear convective system. So this is looking very serious for you folks up here in Wisconsin, especially northern Wisconsin here. You all need to stay extremely weather aware. This is going to be a big time outbreak for you all. This will continue on through as we look further off to the south here through portions of Iowa. You could see that line of storms ramping up and then slamming into, say the Chicago area, kind of all along here. As we go into earlier portions of tomorrow night, that could again contain, up to 70 mile an hour winds, large hail, strong tornadoes, all possibility. And this is a really nasty line that blows through and really continues through even into Michigan. And that looks to be our northern mode. As we take a good look at our southern mode here, you can see our storms still ongoing across west and east Tennessee. Those fan out, but you can see our parameter space again lifting off to the north. And this is a really concerning look, folks. All right. We have a intense supercell right here. We have a couple more intense supercells back here in Oklahoma. And really, I mean, the HRRR fires discrete. And, if this continues, if this trend continues tomorrow, we're going to have a lot of problems. You could see semi-discrete supercells exploding across northern Oklahoma, going into eastern Kansas, into western Missouri there. These are very intense. I mean, we could certainly be talking about a strong to intense tornado risk. I mean, look at that Congo line of semi-discrete, fully discrete supercells that pop off as we go into tomorrow evening, and these cells really continue to explode, move on through, and then we're just left with a nasty line of storms. Look at this. Very damaging, maybe destructive winds along this line of 70 to 80 plus miles an hour. Large to very large hail, upwards of 3 inches in diameter, and even strong to intense tornadoes could be present along this line. And out in front of it, if you're far enough away, we could be talking about a really rare phenomena potentially visible on top of these thunderstorm anvil clouds that you'll see exploding. And we'll get to that later in the video, right? Don't want to get into that just yet. But this continues to move through, and this is a very big issue for a large chunk of the central U.S. And finally, this begins weakening, but even West Tennessee could see some strong storms going early in the morning on Saturday. So this is a humongous risk for a lot of people. And again, if you have weather radios, turn those on. Emergency alerts, you need to have those on as well, because this is a widespread event. Now, in terms of our parameter space, I was getting a little bit too amped up there over this. It's a little bit late at night, so I should probably keep it down. You can see our dew points are getting pretty far north here as we head into tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, look at this tongue of 60-degree dews, like all the way through here, going through these areas here. That is all favorable for severe weather, believe it or not, but only the areas that are forced by our low pressure system, by our quickly crashing cold front, are going to be suitable for severe weather. But as you see, our HRRR model does overmix in some areas. I do expect the severe threat to continue to uptrend into tomorrow morning. And I really do not want to know what that 6Z, 12Z HRRR model outputs could be showing tomorrow. Probably something even more worse than the 00Z, which is the model run I'm looking at right now. We can only hope it doesn't show that, but we'll have to wait and see. But you can see, again, we do have a pretty moist environment. As we look at our storm energy here, you can see upwards of 3,000 to 4,000 CAPE, pretty much, I mean, all in this area here. This is ridiculous. This is what we call a wide open warm sector. I mean, this is going to promote really rapid thunderstorm development, even 4,500 CAPE in some areas. And man, those storms gobble up that environment immediately. And this is just an absolute lightning fest across these areas. And again, all your other hazards as well, don't forget. And you can see our warm sector is still present as we head into the overnight hours over here. And then also down here as well. And we'll talk about that later in the video. But again, this is going to be a pretty big concern for a lot of people. A 0 to 3 kilometer CAPE, this is very important in determining, tornadoes and everything like that. Yes, we have a lot of it present. This is outrageous. This is probably the craziest model output I've ever seen of this parameter. So yeah, you're going to see a spam of tornadoes likely along your line that forms, or maybe all your supercells that form. Better hope not, but tomorrow is going to be a big day, and this continues. I do think that northern central Illinois into northern Indiana could potentially be a sleeper area, and we need to watch out for strong tornado potential in those areas. We do have a bit of a limiting factor here is your lapse rates here, surface lapse rates, basically indicating your temperature change with height. And you can see some areas are actually a bit starved with this temperature change, which could cause your storms to develop a little bit slower and could really hinder your tornado potential. But then other areas are going to be quite the opposite here. We're talking lapse rates of around an 8 to almost an 8.5 up there in Wisconsin. That is really dangerous. And as we head down the cold front, you can see some other splotches around 7 to 7.5, which is quite important to note there. And as we go ahead and take a look at our 0 to 1 kilometer helicity, again, I kind of go over this in a lot of my videos. Generally, you need to know your green colors is your chance of tornadoes, gold colors is a chance for strong tornadoes, red is a chance for intense tornadoes, and gray is a chance for violent tornadoes. It's kind of a little bit of a key I use for myself and does verify sometimes, not all the times, but in an environment like this, it probably would. You can see we are starting off with intense tornado potential up here in portions of Wisconsin pretty early on. That is no surprise. You have a lot of wind shear up there. And you can see even some violent tornado potential becoming evident as we head into tomorrow evening for some of these areas. Again, I do think there's certainly a chance with all your wind shear present for some of those threats to become realized. Further off to your south, you're seeing some strong tornado potential in some conditional areas, becoming maybe an intense tornado potential as we head later on, and maybe even a conditionally violent tornado, though that far south, I don't really expect that to happen as of yet. If we slap all of our parameters together, we get our supercell composite, and our values are very elevated, especially up here into Wisconsin. This is a really dangerous situation here. I mean, seeing your pink colors, even splotches of purples up there, that's not what you want to see. And even down here, you could still see some of your elevated parameters. That is looking very nasty indeed, and some hot zones will begin to develop later into the night. Into our southern mode we go. You can see, again, ample amounts of storm energy. I cannot talk tonight. My gosh. You can see across some of these areas. Your dry line looks locked and loaded here. 3,000 cape in those areas. But we got to speed through this a bit. I've been taking too much time. And you can see from our 0 to 3 kilometer storm energy, some of it is present across your dry line a little bit further off to your north. As we take a look at your lapse rates here, this is a major limiting factor. You can see right along our dry line, we have lapse rates of around a 7, but right off our dry line where storms would go, lapse rates of around a 5 to a 6. That is not very favorable, if you want tornadoes, if you want severe weather. That gets worse and it drops down to potentially even a 4. And no, that's not favorable. That's not going to get the job done. But, your 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative velocity definitely are talking about strong to intense tornado potential if your dry line could fire, and that is TBD. That's to be determined, but is a possibility. Our supercell composite here, you'll begin to notice as we head into the evening, we do have an area of a volatile environment that sets up in place here. That almost looks like a supercell. My goodness, that's a sign. You could see across Kansas, Oklahoma, definitely quite an intense environment there, and that really uptrended quick over the last few model runs. That was not there before. Now here's a fun little segment for you all. We are talking about, a widespread outbreak of severe thunderstorms tomorrow evening, and I kind of want to show you all this cloud cover graphic here because, alright, this is very important. So, you get a lot of lightning out of these storms, especially when you have a lot of storm energy available, but also above these thunderstorm clouds, above these anvil clouds, you can sometimes get these brief, bright red flashes of light. These are known as sprites, and basically they are a form of transient luminous events that can occur above thunderstorms and are really interesting to look at. And as you can see here, as we take a look at our cloud cover forecast, visibility for these sprites could be pretty good. These could be visible 200 to 400 miles away from a thunderstorm. So I'm kind of going to do this in red here, kind of make it a bit fitting. So if we kind of take a rough distance here and kind of look at our cloud cover map, areas I would say roughly right within here probably have some of the most favorable viewing conditions for sprites. You have to be, again, in an area with very little light pollution. They are bright to the camera, but to the naked eye, you may struggle to see them. So make sure you're away from light pollution. Make sure you have a clear view off to your northwest. No, these are not the northern lights. I mean, you look the same direction because of where your storms are, but you could definitely be talking about maybe some elevated viewing chances of sprites in this generally red shaded area. And this clearing across these areas does continue throughout the night, so just kind of keep your eyes peeled from sunset to around 2 a.m. You could see some really weird stuff way high up in the sky. And with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in to today's video, or I should say tonight's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, share this video with friends, family, and social media, leave a comment in the section below if you have any future suggestions for me next, and again, share. Everyone needs to know about this. As like I said, look at this. A lot of thunderstorms expected over a very large area that could be quite intense in nature. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Stay very weather aware out there, and I'll hopefully see you back here soon.